It was a rainy Saturday morning in Chicago when Emily Carter stood in her kitchen, watching the drops streak down the window like they were racing each other to the bottom. She had been married to Daniel Carter for nearly 6 years, and though their life together wasn't perfect, she had always thought it was stable. Daniel was dependable, hardworking, and a devoted son to his father, Richard Carter. Emily had always respected that about him, though she didn't always understand the bond between father and son. That morning, Daniel was away on a business trip in New York, leaving Emily home alone. She was still in her robe when the doorbell rang. She frowned. Hardly anyone came by unannounced, and when she peeked through the peephole, she was startled to see Richard, her father-in-law, standing on the porch. His coat was damp from the rain, and he looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. Emily quickly opened the door. "Richard, are you okay?" He gave her a weak smile, stepping inside as she held the door. "Hi, Emily. I'm sorry for dropping by like this. I needed to talk to someone, and Daniel's not around." She closed the door and led him toward the living room, concern pulling at her chest. Richard was usually so composed, a man who had built his life on structure and responsibility. At 60, he still carried himself with a sharpness that reminded her of Daniel, though his graying hair and the lines around his eyes told a story of hardship. Today, though, he seemed smaller somehow, vulnerable. "Of course," Emily said gently. "You can always come here. Do you want some coffee?" He nodded, and while she busied herself in the kitchen, she kept glancing toward him, sensing something was deeply wrong. When she returned with 2 mugs, Richard was sitting on the couch, staring at the floor like he was trying to summon the courage to speak. "Emily," he finally said, his voice low and rough, "I need to tell you something. It's been weighing on me for years, and I can't carry it alone anymore." Emily felt a chill crawl down her arms. "What is it?" He looked up at her, his eyes glassy. "It's about Daniel, and our family." Her heartbeat quickened. The rain outside grew heavier, as though punctuating the moment. Richard took a sip of coffee, then set it down, his hands trembling. "You've probably noticed Daniel. He doesn't like to talk about his mother," Richard said slowly. Emily nodded. She had asked once, early in their marriage, but Daniel had shut down so quickly she never brought it up again. "There's a reason for that," Richard continued. "Because the story he knows isn't the whole truth." Emily leaned in, gripping her mug tightly. "What do you mean?" Richard took a shaky breath. "Daniel grew up believing that his mother, Linda, left us when he was 12. That she walked out because she didn't love us anymore. But that's not true. She didn't leave, she disappeared. And I never told him." Emily gasped softly, her mind racing. "Disappeared? Richard, what are you saying?" "I mean she vanished without a trace," Richard said, his voice breaking. "One night she said she was going to visit a friend. She never came back. Her car was found abandoned near Lake Michigan. No sign of her. No note. Nothing. The police searched, but nothing." Emily covered her mouth, shocked. She had lived with Daniel all these years, never realizing the weight of this secret. "Oh my God." Richard wiped his eyes. "I couldn't tell Daniel the truth. He was just a boy. I told him she left because she didn't love us. I thought it would be easier than telling him she might have been taken, or worse. But I've lived with that lie every day. And now, with Daniel building his own life with you, I can't hide it anymore." Emily's heart ached for her husband. He had carried the pain of abandonment his whole life, never knowing the truth. But she also felt the gravity of the revelation Richard had just placed in her hands. "Richard," she whispered, "you have to tell Daniel. He deserves to know." Richard shook his head, anguish twisting his face. "I want to, but I'm afraid. Afraid he'll hate me for lying. Afraid he'll never forgive me." Before Emily could respond, there was a loud knock at the door. She froze. Richard's head snapped up, his face draining of color. "Were you expecting someone?" he asked. Emily shook her head. Slowly, she went to the door, her pulse pounding. She opened it just a crack and froze. Standing there was a woman. An older woman, with tired eyes and streaks of gray in her hair. But even with the years etched into her face, Emily recognized her instantly from the old photographs Daniel kept tucked away in a box. "Hello," the woman said softly. Her voice trembled. My name is Linda Carter. I'm Daniel's mother. And I need to see my son. Emily's breath caught. She swung the door open wider, staring at the woman who was supposed to be gone forever. Richard stood up from the couch, his eyes wide with shock. Linda, he whispered, his voice cracking. The woman nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. It's me. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to disappear, but I had no choice. Emily's knees nearly gave out as the storm raged louder outside. The father-in-law she had let in had already changed everything with his